What feature on your car did it take you way too long to notice? That you can adjust the height of your seatbelt. I spent over a decade with the seatbelt one good crash away from lacerating my neck. Speaking of seatbelts, people really need to learn how to wear them proper. If they aren't sitting correctly, they aren't going to help you. Steering wheel heater. The button is behind the bottom of the wheel. When I was in Norway a few years back, I did not mind the cold so much. But frick me, when I touched the steering wheel in the morning it felt like touching Satan's cold dong. It took me like 4 months to realize that my motorcycle has a little compartment where I can store my registration. Tucked behind the engine I finally notice a key slot. Yeah, a lot of bikes have a small, emphasis on small, storage space under the seat. Though if you have an older bike like I do, the keyhole to unlock it might be half rusted and a B to unlock. I have a sunroof. Took me an embarrassingly long time to find out. Does this open my sunglass holder? Hole opens up in my roof. After a couple years of owning a TC, someone showed me that I could remove the headrests from the front seat, push the seats all the way forward, then recline the seat all the way down so that the back of the front seats were flat and lined up with the back seats. So you could sit in the back seat and lay down in the back seats reclined a little too. If drive-in movies were still a big thing, it would have been perfect. I still wish somebody told me while I was still in high school so I could have taken advantage of it. Haha, I wish. Bought my car used a few years ago. AC works, but doesn't ever get super cold. Just last week I find a max AC button, as in you have to 1 turn the AC on, 2 twist the dial all the way down, and then 3 push this stupid magical button for the AC to get really cold. I'm hoping for an unseasonably warm December. That sounds like the cruise control in my car. It's like authorizing a nuke launch. You have to set cruise control up on the well, then reach over and hit an arm button, which is on the other side of the dash and unreachable by my short arms, and then turn on cruise control. I went into the back of my Golf to replace one of the rear shocks and realized there was a hidden, stock, sub back there that had been disconnected. Rewired it to the amp tight next to it and worked like a charm. Previous owner must have hated bass. One car I rented took me a while to figure out where the volume control was on the steering wheel. All the other buttons you expect to find were there, but no volume. Turns out it was on the other side of the wheel, like the trigger button on a game controller. You can't see it from the front. That crap was hard to find, and I was looking for it. Was driving me crazy. There's a flashlight integrated into the rear interior light of my car. Only noticed it after bumping it while moving a giant rat cage. Neat. Didn't know my car had a backup cam. I was always looking behind me when I backed up and the screen went back to normal when I turned back around. Someone had to mention it to me before I realized. This one is my favorite here. I realized there's a lever by my gear shift that makes my car go a lot faster when it's down. Some people call it the emergency funny smell lever. I owned my first car for 10 years. Sold it to my friend before moving out of state. Went back for a visit and was driving us around in it, and only then did I realize the dual function of the cruise control set reset buttons. Excel Decel. Because nothing in the car was digital, I never noticed that pushing the Excel would actually change the cruise control speed, since the needle on the speedometer wouldn't really move unless I pushed it several times in a row. While I owned the car, if the cruise control wasn't set just right, I would just cancel it, manually get to the speed I wanted, and reset it. In all the cars I've driven, you could manually increase the speed and just press and hold set again to change the speed that the cruise control was set to. No need to cancel first. But, yeah, they also all could increase or decrease the setting by 1 mile per hour for each press of resume or set. My car has a push button start. As long as the key fob is inside the vehicle, you can start it by pressing the ignition button. However, when it gets really cold, the car has a hard time getting the signal from the key fob. So when it was cold out, I would get in my car and then would have to cup my keys in my hands and blow hot air on them for several minutes until the key fob was warm enough to be detected by the car. Then I could push the button to start it. I did this for months during the first winter in which I owned the vehicle, before I realized that the manufacturer had anticipated this and built in a feature where you could simply push the ignition button with the key fob itself. This always starts the car, even if the key fob is freezing cold. Felt pretty stupid. That also works if your fob battery dies. The seat warmer. Occasionally, when my butt felt really warm, I just thought it was because of the heater. But then there was a time when I was turning the heater all the way up, but my butt felt really cold. So I got really confused and learned that the car has a butt warming option. Not a car, but my bike stalled in traffic once and I needed to find the choke switch badly in order to get it running. Spent nearly an hour looking for the switch around, under, beside the engine, but nothing. Turns out the switch was on my handlebar. I think this is a process we all go through when first starting to ride. Fortunately for me, I mistakenly flipped the switch coming out from the gas station and not in traffic. Still spent 5-10 minutes wondering why the heck my new motorcycle doesn't start. Lost my aux cord after about 4 months and drove my car with no music for a while. I learned I could connect via Bluetooth and then eventually with USB to play music. I felt so dumb. The dumb thing is I had already set my phone up so I could take calls with it, but I had to knowingly choose a source for Bluetooth or USB for it to play and didn't know how until my wife taught me. One time one of my speakers blew out. I didn't have money for new ones, so for months I drove around with only my driver-died speaker playing music. Finally I save up some money, buy some quality speakers online and head to the shop to get them installed. It turns out I accidentally changed the audio levels somehow to where music only played from one speaker and my speakers were fine after all. Oops. 4-wheel steering. Took me almost 2 months to figure out why it handled like it did. My brother's Honda had that. His cornering was tight. 1. When I was little and would press all the dashboard buttons like a little crap, my dad told me that the red button with the triangles on it was an eject button. I did not figure out it was actually the hazard light button until I took driver's ed. 2. When I turned 16, my parents got me a car. My birthday is in September. When it started to get cold, I would press this button with a snowflake on it that I had assumed to be the window defroster. It wasn't until the following summer, when I had complained that there wasn't any air conditioning in my car, did my sister point out that the snowflake button was actually the button for air conditioning. She had let me drive her around all winter blasting the air conditioning and didn't say a thing. Snowflake, if near the transmission stick, in an automatic usually means you start in second gear. This is to stop your wheels spinning too fast from too much torque of first gear while you are in snow or icy road conditions. The seatbelts in the front seats of my old car can go up and down. I noticed it right before I gave it to my in-laws after having it for 13 years. 2015 Mini Cooper. It's full of quirks. When you start the car, an image of the car winks at you. The feature that took me too long to notice was an internal lock on the gas cap. From the outside it has an indentation when you manually pull it open to refuel. So I'm washing the car and I decide to wash behind the gas cap. I pulled and broke off the body panel. I pulled more than I should have, but it's meant to be pulled. It cost $160 to replace the part and have it painted. If someone wants to siphon the gas, I'd rather have them take it than pay $160 each time anyone goes to open the cap. The cap is unlocked when the doors are unlocked. You just saved me a lot of trouble. I was washing my locked car the other day and couldn't open the gas cap. I was going to ask my husband to look at it before I need to get gas again. I just unlocked my car and tried it and it's fine. Thanks for preventing me from looking stupid. When you click the air recirculation button while your AC is on, it makes the AC like 10x colder. I didn't know this for years and always thought my AC sucked in my car. Sure felt stupid after figuring that one out. I have a 10 CD changer in my trunk. It's an '04 Jeep. I found it like 2 years ago. Literally like the last 3 cars I've bought been taken along while other people bought. I've taught the sellers things like, oh, the seats fold up down, there's a hidden toolbox in the trunk, the shelf slides out of your hatchback so you can actually fit things in it. Maybe I'm weird, but I try everything the first minute I get into a car. I'm a big nerd, so I'll go through the car's whole infotainment settings menu every month or so to see if I can change something to make it better. Last time I set the auto volume to max. Good improvement. The windscreen heater. I spend like 5-10 minutes on mornings where it was cold trying to defrost and demist my screen so I could actually see. My girlfriend pops in my car one morning and was like, "Why don't you just turn the windscreen heater on?" Long and behold, the dial I use every day to turn the heat on has a windscreen option as the last option. I didn't recognize the symbol and it was at the end, so just never got that far. Needless to say, I felt dumb. Some cars even have heated front and rear glass. You know, the little wired in the screen. Also LPT. Put the sun visor down when you are using the defroster. It traps the heated air a little and makes defrosting faster. I have an '04 Malibu from my grandfather. One night I realized I forgot to roll my window down after coming home. So I decided to just reach in and unlock the door from the inside. That night I realized I have an alarm in a bad neighborhood. I had a car that would sound the alarm if you used the key to unlock the doors. You had to use the fob. I'm sure there was a setting to turn that off, but I didn't bother hunting for it. 2004 Honda CR-V inherited from my grandmother. Just now realized there's a goddamn removable folding table built into the trunk. I'm about to have so many more picnics in scenic spots. Heated mirrors. Because they both were not connected from factory. So after 15 years one of them got broken and the spare parts guy said that my car had heated mirrors, and I just thought that he tried to sell me a more expensive mirror. But the connection was there and it worked. The original buyer declined the trim package. Cheaper to make the cars all the same but not hook up the fancy parts unless you pay more. My mom didn't realize that there was a button on her key fob that would open the trunk of her Mini Cooper until after having had it for 5 years. Then she proceeded to never, ever use it. That it's crap and I hate it and everything's starting to go wrong with it. And does anyone fancy buying a Peugeot Bipper? Peugeot Bipper. It's not just the Bipper. After owning a used 2012 Nissan Maxima for 2 years, I realized that the stereo system had a hard drive that would rip CDs as you listen to them. That I can set the sensitivity of the automatic windshield wipers. I've had the car for 2 years, and during heavy rain the automatic windshield wipers just wouldn't cut it, which was slightly annoying. Just the other day I found this little knob on the wipers lever thingy I've never noticed before. It was of course turned all the way down. I bought an old MK1 Golf to learn mechanics on. Fixed it up and got it roadworthy, but I had this annoying problem where very occasionally the left or right side parking lights would stay on after I parked. It was only ever one side, not both at the same time. I spent ages trying to track down the electrical gremlin causing this and used to have to disconnect the battery whenever it happened. Turns out some European cars have a feature where the parking lights will remain on whatever side you've left the indicator stalk pointing to. It's a law to have these here. Germany. I had my car for over a year before I fully understood how the turn signals worked. I didn't know I could just tap them when changing lanes and they'd turn off automatically after a few seconds. My car is really annoying. If I turn on the signals, it must flash a minimum of 5 times, even if I turn them off. So when exiting a roundabout people think I am still indicating to pull over. I knew about it beforehand, but I am constantly reminded of how dang useful the Ford keypad entry is. Can't tell you how many times I've walked outside and remembered, dang, not only do I not have my keys, I have no idea where they even are. Then, oh yeah, I don't need them, right? My co-worker has a newer Ford and this is probably the feature I envy the most. We both realized that we had left things in our cars one day, so we head out to the lot. She notices that she doesn't have her keys, and I'm all ready to turn around except, nope, don't need them. Keypad entry, that and the heated steering wheel are the best features of her car. My sun visor extends, took me 6 years. Not really sure if this counts, but my very first car, an '88 Toyota Tercel, I had the brights on for months without realizing it. What made it worse is I got out of work at night almost every day and got pissed off when people would occasionally beep at me and flash their brights. That little tab below your rear view mirror, when flipped, allows you to tint the mirror. Super useful at night. Way too long. There's actually a second mirror behind a semi-transparent mirror. When you flip the tab it changes the angle so light passes through the outermost mirror and reflects off the inner tinted mirror. When I put the gas pedal all the way to the floor, it kind of clicks. Realized later on that it was actually downshifting my car to accelerate faster. My car's gas pedal clicks too, and it's a manual. Lazy engineering, I guess. I've had my car for 5 years and only just discovered I can dim and brighten the radio display. Only found out because after my battery died a lot of the system settings restored to default. My F-150 has these two odd buttons that look like the side mirrors. Every time I tried them while driving nothing happened. Then one day waiting on my son at school I hit the left one and bam, bright but side spotlight led from the mirror. The soccer mom next to me was blinded but not impressed. Turns out they only work under 10 miles per hour. I had my 30-year-old Volvo for 3 years before I realized the security system was not, in fact, an alarm at all, but it prevents the car from starting. That almost gave me a panic attack. See my Jeep, except it also sets off an alarm, even when you unlock it with a key. I've had my car for over 3 years now, had kids in the back seats with drinks that I've made them hold in their laps, because there were no cup holders in the back seat, for about 1.5 years, before the breakup. Got into a discussion last week with my friend about how I had no place to put all these cups we'd gotten after going to eat. He's like, aren't there cup holders in your backseat now? I wish there was, but there's not. Then what's that separation? What? So the mother pulls down the middle seat in the back of my car to reveal 2 perfectly functional cup holders and a small table. I could have used those so many freaking times, instead of having the oops as one of the kids decided to splash on themselves. But nope. My derpy butt didn't realize they were there. I'd try to excuse it by the fact that I'm never in the back seat, but I had to be back there to help them get buckled in. I should have seen that dang compartment. Some cars have extra cup holders in the bottom compartment in the doors too, or the back of the center front console. Take a look, you might have those as well. I was so pee about this when I found out because it's extremely useful and subtle. Bid my car, and basically every car in existence now has a little indicator that tells you what side of the car your gas goes in on. It's on your dashboard and it looks like a little arrow on the side you need to fill up on. Here's a useless fact. The gas cap is always on the opposite side from the exhaust pipe. But if you can't remember which side your cap's on, I'm guessing this does nothing to help you. I apologize, I should have said usually. This was the answer to a puzzler on Car Talk. Not mine, but a relative. We were in his car that he had had for at least 2-3 years by this point, and he was complaining about the light coming through the sunroof being too hot. So I reached up and closed the shade. He looked at me like I had just raised the dead. He had no idea that sunroofs typically come with ways to, close them. The little clip to hold your fuel cap whilst you refuel. I have a button on my Subaru that says PTY cat. I had no idea what it was until I started calling it the party cat button. Man, the parties me and my cat had were unreal. Still have no idea what the party cat button does. You have been visited by the Be Humble, Be Stay Humble and Believe in Yourself. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.